I am Colombian, and I love my country. When I was 17 years old, I was in my last year of high school, and I remember feeling very proud of my country, of my heritage, of my culture, of my food, the landscape, everything about Colombia I was in love with. During that last year of high school, I also decided to move for 6 months to a year to the United States to learn English. My brother was already living here, and I wanted to come visit, stay with him for a little bit, and also learn English. The idea was to go back to Colombia and go to college. I had no intention of staying in the United States. So two weeks after graduating high school, I moved to Kentucky to live with my brother. There, I enrolled on ESL classes, English as a second language classes, and there I met my first friend, non-Colombian friend. His name is Bruno, he's from Uruguay, and we started talking just because he had a t-shirt with lyrics of a band that we both liked, and we became friends instantly. He gave me rides from home to school, from school to home, and then he started inviting me to parties where I met other Latino people, people from Mexico, people from Argentina, people from Venezuela. During that time, meeting all these different people, I realized that there is a lot, that I had a lot in common with people from those places too. Not just the language, but also history, and the way we think, and the music we listen to. I quickly started to realize that I was more than a Colombian, but I was also a Latina. Going back to when I moved here to Kentucky, within the first 6 months, I decided to stay for college. And it was easier for my family and for me, so I enrolled into college, and the idea was to finish college and come back to Colombia and do the Colombian lifestyle. I graduated college, and again, I decided to stay for a little bit longer, to work for a little bit, save some money, and then go back to Colombia. And that kept happening pretty much every year. I made the decision to stay for a little bit longer. Until I met Sam, my boyfriend, who may or may not be in this room. And he introduced me to his friends and his family. And Kentucky started to feel a lot more like home. And that's when I made the decision to just stay in Kentucky. He introduced me to his family and his friends, and I started to realize that there's also a connection and a common ground that I have with American people. I started to notice that we also had a lot in common. And especially, I don't know, for example, Christmas with his family is very similar to Christmas with my family. The food, the day might be different, and the language, of course, but the feeling of Christmas, it's pretty much the same with his family and my family. In 2017, I decided to become a citizen. First, it was because I wanted to freely come back and forth between Colombia and the United States. But the main reason, to be honest, was because I started to care a lot more about America and its politics. So I really wanted to vote. I became a citizen in early 2017, and I have to say it was weird. There were a lot of mixed feelings because there was a 17-year-old Colombian, a 21-year-old Latina, feeling very proud of her heritage, of her language, of her culture, and then now I was an American. I honestly didn't tell a lot of people that I became a citizen because it was a little bit weird, and I had a lot of mixed feelings. And I had to dig deeper on that. One day, probably 6 months after becoming a citizen, I had a conversation with Sam about gun control and gun violence. When I was expressing myself about this issue, I talked about it as if it wasn't my issue, as if it was an American issue, but not my issue, even though I was American. He got pretty mad because I was treating that issue as if it wasn't my problem. And that was my first realization of me being an American. So for some time, and after that, I kind of felt in limbo because when I go to Colombia, people tell me, oh, you look and talk and dress like an American. But when I come here, people tell me, oh, where are you from? After digging deeper and listening to other people, I came to the realization that I don't have to be Colombian American. I could just remove the hyphen, and I could be 100% Colombian, 100% Latina, and 100% American.